You know, there's no doubt that recent economic trends have shed some optimism on the nation, yet many continue to struggle with personal financial situations that have given much hope for a return to a normal way of life. Many of those people have chosen bankruptcy as the only alternative. But filing for bankruptcy is not the worst decision one can make. In fact, it could trigger a new positive outlook for many. Denver bankruptcy attorney Kevin Heupel continues a special series here with us. He's here to shed new light on the ups and downs of bankruptcy, and we invite your questions and might even invite some of you to discuss it on the show. Here right now is Kevin, and welcome back.
Good morning.
Okay, before we talk about some of those emails, because we already have received some from the last time you were on the show, let's reintroduce you to our viewers. We have new viewers all the time, and kind of talk about your career and why you decided to get into bankruptcy law.
Sure. Been a licensed attorney for 10 years. Prior to that, I was a finance accounting undergrad, and I spent 3 years as a corporate accountant. Bankruptcy really is kind of a numbers game, getting it filed and getting it through the process. So my background with the finance and accounting coupled with law was just a natural fit for bankruptcy. And the thing I enjoy about it most is that we get a good result for people.
Yeah.
We can actually plan it and we can get the result we want. Whereas if you're litigating in a divorce or some other lawsuit, you never know. The decision is with the judge. But with bankruptcy, the law is clear enough that we can plan it out, get the result that people need, and that's to be debt-free.
Well, thank goodness, because going through bankruptcy, there's so much stress. It's nice to know that there's someone like you that can help you go through that. What's the reality of bankruptcy? There's a stigma about it.
You know, the reality is it's one of the oldest federal laws around. It was enacted in the late 1800s. It was before Social Security. It was before unemployment, Medicare, Medicaid. And it's been used by a lot of people to get out of debt situations. Milton Hershey, Walt Disney, President Grant were some of the early filers of bankruptcy. Larry King, Beyonce, Beyond Borg, Dorothy Hamill.
Beyonce?
Beyonce.
Larry King?
They found themselves in horrible financial situations, even though they make a lot of money, but their debt to income was such that they were never going to pay it off.
Right.
And so they went and did bankruptcy to start over. And so a lot of people feel like, oh, it's just not a legitimate way to get out of my debt. It certainly is. It's federal law, and people will use it. And if you think of it as a financial decision that I need to get out of this situation, then there is no stigma. The stigma is the emotional guilt that people feel because they can no longer repay the debt.
Right. Well, you make more, you spend more most of the time. That's how they get in those situations. When should someone actually start considering filing bankruptcy? What are some of the warning signs?
Biggest warning sign is if your unsecured debt, like credit cards, personal loans, are more than a third of your annual income. In that situation, you've lost the ability to ever pay it off because you're using about 2/3 of your income to live on. The other third starts getting eaten up on debt. If you're starting to miss mortgage payments, or you're paying your credit card off, or you're making your minimum payment on your credit card, but then you're using your credit card to buy groceries, insurance. And then a lot of it is just the emotion of it. Do you feel trapped? I mean, are you at a point where you feel trapped by this debt, that there's no way out, and the only way you think you can get out is hope. I hope I win the lottery. I hope I get a raise. When you're at that point, that's when you need to start looking at bankruptcy.
Oh, good. Well, thank you for coming on here on the show and helping so many of our viewers with these questions that you're about to answer. The first one from our viewer, let's take a peek. It says, I have about $50,000 in credit card debt. I stopped making payments since last year. How much am I looking in cost to file bankruptcy?
Bankruptcy start at $1,200. They go up from there. At my firm, it's just a $100 deposit to get started. You make payments after that. In order to know what the total fee would be in her case or his case, I need two more items. I need to know, one, their income, because on Chapter 7, it's based on income and family size. If you're a single filer in Colorado and you make less than $46,000 a year, you're eligible. If you're over, you can still get in, but we have to do a means test, and that can sometimes drive up the fee. The other thing is, what type of property do they have? Most properties exempt, meaning you don't lose it during the bankruptcy.
Good.
But some is not. If you have an ATV, a boat, we need to do some planning around that, and that can drive up the cost as well on it. But we start out at $1,200. We go from there. Usually it's not more than $2,000. And in terms of paying for it, most people will find that when they stop paying their credit cards, it's 2 to 3 months of credit card payments, and then they're debt-free for life.
Wow.
Yeah.
Imagine that. Here's the next one. I am also buying a home and a car and have 2 personal loans. Will filing bankruptcy affect these loans?
What the bankruptcy will do in that situation, it's going to discharge the 2 personal loans. You'll never have to repay those. It also discharges the mortgage and the car payment. But those are what we call secured debts because they're attached to an item. They're attached to the car, they're attached to the house. And in that situation, even though it's discharged, you have an option. You could walk away. Some people are walking away from their homes right now. They can't afford them. Or you turn the car in because you're upside down. Or you can keep them. And if you want to keep them, you just continue to make the monthly payment, and you can keep those items in the bankruptcy.
So the judge won't pull the vehicle then because he knows you have to get to work in order to
Right. I mean, it's a given that you got to have a house and you got to have a car in this society, and you don't lose those items per se, and you're allowed to keep them. And the biggest simple thing is you either keep it by paying it, or you stop paying and losing it.
Gosh, great information. Again, thank you. And remember, you can always email your questions here, coco@9news.com. Kevin's going to be coming on several more times, so we'd love to help you answer your questions. Another one from a viewer, if I file for bankruptcy in Colorado, how long before my creditors stop trying to collect?
The day you file, there's a thing that is called an automatic stay that comes in place, and at that point, creditors can no longer collect from you. They can't sue you. They cannot garnish you. In Colorado, another nice thing we have is that if you retain an attorney, at that point they can no longer contact you directly. And that's helpful for some of my clients who are just getting a lot of collection calls buried in them. So once they retain me with that $100 deposit, I give them a special phone number that they're able to refer creditors to. And so while we're getting the bankruptcy together, they don't have to worry about being harassed through the telephone. And then once we file, they are protected by the bankruptcy laws.
Gosh, for only a $100 deposit, that's life-changing. It really, really is. Okay, for our final email for today, remember you can email your questions to coco@9news.com. What debts are dropped after filing bankruptcy? Can personal taxes be written off? What about that, Kevin?
Personal taxes actually can. A lot of people don't realize that. The kicker with personal taxes, it needs to be older than 3 years. So older than 3 years of the tax filing date. If somebody comes to me today, I can discharge taxes that were incurred 2005, 04, 03,
and down
the line.
Okay.
06, 07, and 08 are not dischargeable. But the way to look at it is bankruptcy discharges most debts except taxes in the last 3 years, student loans, court restitution, and then child support alimony. Those are the big categories.
Absolutely no bankruptcy law. So thank you for coming on, educating me and the viewers again today. And we're going to see you again very soon with more questions.
All right, sounds good.
Thanks, Kevin. Again, it's important to meet with an attorney when filing Chapter 7 bankruptcy because most people who try and file themselves are unaware that money in their bank account and money owed from a tax return may not be exempt unless certain steps are taken. Call Kevin Heupel if you think bankruptcy is your only option. It may or it may not be the path to financial security. Call 303-955-7570 or learn more about bankruptcy and Heupel Law before you call at HeupelLaw.com. Now, again, every 2 weeks for the next couple of months, we're going to have Kevin on, and we invite you to email us your questions about bankruptcy issues and options. If you're considering bankruptcy or already have filed but still have questions, email your questions to coco@9news.com. That's coco@9news.com. We might even invite you to be on the show live to discuss your situation with Kevin. Heupel Law paid for the segment.